What's up at the major global news updates? I am Soibifa Jackridge. It was 10 minutes of shouted accusations of being a genocide enabler and having blood on your hands that made a British lawmaker fear for his safety over his decision to voice support for Israel and in its war with Hamas. Almost touching noses with his accuser before walking away and warning he would call the police, the opposition Labour Party member said the incident in the town in his constituency was just the latest of several that made him change his behaviour. After the October 7th Hamas attack that sparked the war in Gaza, more than 10 British politicians said the abuse directed at them had become more intense. At least one cited this as a factor in deciding not to seek a new term in Parliament in an election later this year. All spoke on condition of anonymity, saying they were fearful that giving the names would increase the threats and abuse. The conflict in the Palestinian enclave has inflamed tensions across the globe, bringing protesters onto the streets in support of both sides and dividing opinion among leaders over how to end the bloodshed. In Britain, even politicians who are no strangers to receiving abuse from the public say the tone has become ugly and dangerous, with some fearing it could easily slip into violence. Many are considering taking steps to protect themselves, such as wearing stab vests in meetings or public safe rooms. The government is expected to announce details this week of plans to increase security for members of parliament, according to one official. But despite getting the highly charged ceasefire vote out of the way last week and the level of abuse easing a little, some lawmakers have decided to quit, saying the threats and become intolerable. The memory of two lawmakers, one killed by a right-wing extremist in 2016 and the other in 2021 by a man inspired by Islamic States, weighs heavily. North Korea's first spy satellite is alive, a Netherlands-based space expert said on Tuesday, after detecting changes in its orbit that suggest Pyongyang is successfully controlling the spacecraft. Although its capabilities are still unknown, after two fiery failures, North Korea successfully placed the Manlyang-1 satellite in orbit in November. Pyongyang's state media claimed it has photographed sensitive military and political sites in South Korea, the United States and elsewhere, but has not released any imagery. Independent radio trackers have not detected signals from the satellite. From February 19th to 24th, the satellite conducted maneuvers to raise its perigee, or the lowest point in its orbit, from 488 kilometers to 497 kilometers, Langberg said. South Korea's defense ministry did not immediately respond to a request for comment. On Monday, Defense Minister Shin Won-sik said the satellite was not showing any signals of performing other tasks or engaging in resonance. The orbit-raising maneuver was a serious as the presence of an onboard propulsion system is expected and previous North Korean satellite. That means that as long as there is fuel in the satellite, North Korea can prolong the satellite lifetime by raising its altitude when it gets too low because of orbital decay, he concluded. Hong Kong on Wednesday announced major measures to bolster its flagging real estate market by scrapping all tightening measures for residential properties, aimed at helping the city's economy, which is expected to grow at a tepid 2.5% to 3.5% this year. The financial hub will cancel all additional stamp duties on transactions and waive stamp duties payable on the transfer of right units. Hong Kong Financial Secretary Paul Chang told lawmakers in his annual budget, noting challenges including high interest rates, a complex geopolitical environment, as well as ballooning recently budget deficits. Chan announced a mix of measures spanning property, tourism, and financial services to lure back capital, businesses, and visitors to the city, as well as restore fiscal balance. In a parallel move, the Hong Kong's Monetary Authority (HKMA) adjusted measures for property mortgage loans, including raising the maximum amount home buyers can borrow for some purchases. Hong Kong's housing prices have fallen 20% since their 2021 peak, given both economic and political headwinds, including a national security clampdown that stopped an emigration wave from the city and a slowing Chinese economy impacting potential Chinese home buyers, long a driver of the markets. U.S. President Joe Biden easily won the Democratic presidential primary in Michigan on Tuesday, but a protest vote by Democrats angry over his support Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza exceeded organizers' expectations. Donald Trump won the state's Republican president's primary by a large margin, strengthening his grip on the party's White Party nomination as Nikki Haley, his last remaining rival, came in a distant second. Although Biden and Republican former President Trump had been expected to easily win their separate party primaries, the vote count for both was being closely watched for signs of wavering support. In Michigan, home to a large Arab American constituency, Democratic voters had been urged to mark their primary ballots as uncommitted on Tuesday in protest of Biden's Gaza policy. With almost half of Democratic votes counted, the number of uncommitted voters was more than 58,000, according to Edison research, far exceeding the target to 10,000 the protest organizers had hoped for. Many in Michigan's American community who backed Biden in 2020 are angry as some progressive Democrats over Biden's support for Israel's offensive in Hamas ruled Gaza, where tens of thousands of Palestinians have been killed. Partial returns showed Biden and Trump with solid overall leads, but nearly half the estimated Democratic votes counted. Biden had 80% support, with uncommitted getting 13%, with 58 of the estimated Republican votes counted. Trump had 67 support of Haley's 27%, Edison research said. Japan's Toyota Motor said on Wednesday global vehicle production rose by 7% in January, marking a year-on-year increase for the 13th straight month as the automaker benefited from U.S. demand. Output for January increased to 740,332 vehicles, while worldwide sales rose about 11% from a year earlier as growth in overseas markets such as the United States made up for declining sales in Japan. Both figures include the luxury Lexus brand. U.S. sales for the month surged 23%, while those in Europe gained 2%, offsetting a sharp 14% drop in domestic sales, while sales in China jumped 39%. The rise was partially due to dealers selling cars in more days than last year due to Chinese New Year related calendar changes. Toyota said competition in China continued to intensify. Almost 2/5 of the vehicles, the world's largest automaker by volume, sold in January were gasoline and electric hybrids. These are the size of top accolade global news updates. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen.